So we are back, guys, for episode 5 After the Snap. I am your host, The Wager Zone. This is my co-host, Hezzy. Say what's up to the people, Hez.
What up, world? What's going on?
Yep. So, guys, we are going to get into episode 5 now. I have a few topics we're going to go over. Going to go over the Sunday night slate of how the biggest stories in football right now. We have a lot of injuries coming into the season, coming into this week, I should say. And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's ruining the season, but it's kind of like heartbreaking for a lot of NFL fans that these people got hurt. So, we're going to get into some injuries. We're going to get into some MVP discussions. We're also going to be getting into our his favorite quarterback, especially right now. My favorite quarterback, Baker Mayfield. We're going to get into how he's had another comeback win. We're going to get into Mac Jones starting for the 49ers. And also, we're at the end of the video, we're going to be getting into our Thursday night football. Thursday night football predictions. We're going to go into our top 5 teams of the season going into this. So, yeah, guys, let's get right into the first topic. The first topic I have on board is going to be Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he is out for 3 months now with a toe injury. A very sad time for us because we both thought Joe Burrow would win MVP this year. We both thought Joe Burrow was going to come in and actually have an MVP type season. So we kind of can just throw that one away, I guess, because you can't predict injuries in the beginning of the season. And probably I would say right now too, after we get done with this question, we can maybe make a new MVP pick because I feel like the only time is that you can kind of like change your pick is if injuries happen. Like if I think this guy's an MVP, but he gets hurt in week 2, it's kind of like okay, I might have to switch my pick up a little bit. So I think we'll get into that as well. That's who we think could win MVP now. But I guess my question is for this one about Joe Burrow is the first one is this is a two-part question. The first question is going to be: do you think Joe Burrow is injury prone with how many injuries he's happened in his career so far? He's only been healthy, I think, 2 full seasons, or maybe even 1 full season. He's been healthy. So would you say Joe Burrow is injury prone? Is going to be the first part?
Yeah. I mean, so far he's just shown that he just can't stay and play consecutive games like that for whatever reason, and it's like seems to be little ticky tack, little injuries. So it's definitely been keeping him from just staying on the field a little bit longer. But we all could see what he could do when he's healthy. He's obviously one of the best, like in elite in the league. So,
Mhm.
um, but when he does return, I pretty much still have faith, and we still have him up for pretty much that conversation of being MVP.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think Joe Burrow is kind of showing he's injury prone. It seems like every single year he gets dinked up with something, even if he's missing like 2 games. But the one time he's actually had a full season where he's healthy, Joe Burrow led the Bengals to the Super Bowl, and then that was the one time he was actually healthy the whole entire season. But it just seems as of right now that he can't stay healthy. That it was a knee, it was a hand, now it's a toe, and he's just injured
Yeah.
all the time. And it seems like it's different body parts too. It's not any reoccurring injuries. It's not like people. I remember when he hurt his wrist, people were like, "Oh, is that a wrist injury going to come back?" It didn't come back. When he tore his ACL in I think it was his second year of his career, or maybe his first year of his career, he tore his ACL. That injury hasn't came back because knee looks fine, and it just seems like it's another nicky knack injury every after another. Now he's gonna have surgery on his toe, be out for 3 months. So I guess I kind of
Mhm.
agree with you. Like it seems like this guy that has all the talent in the world is going to be injury prone. Hopefully, he can stay healthy later on in his career. But the older you get, it's harder to stop those injuries. So,
Yeah.
I do hope that Joe Burrow can get this over with and try to play a full season because as of right now, it seems like he's hurt almost every single year. And I guess the second part of that question is: do you think the Bengals season's over now? They're 2-0 at the moment. They're gonna have Jake Browning going to be starting for them at quarterback. Do you think the season's over, or do you think Jake Browning can lead them still to the playoffs?
I mean, Jake Browning for starters really isn't a bad quarterback for starters. Like he is a pretty decent backup for the most part. I kind of feel like he can hold it down, Just depends on obviously how the flow of the offense goes, and I feel like they will have to attack real early just for them to kind of feel comfortable and trying to not put him in that predicament to kind of make a
Mhm.
comeback every time. So realistically, I mean, relatively speaking, I feel like they can really do it. And I mean, there's nobody else that's going to come second behind the Ravens in that division, because I mean the
Yeah.
Browns don't really look like they're going to be in contention at all in the AFC. So yeah, I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I want to say I don't want to say it's over yet because it's possible that they can. Sorry guys, you guys hear that? I got someone mowing the lawn right outside my window, so you don't know if you guys can hear that, but Um, I don't want to say the season's over just quite yet. I want to see a couple weeks with Jake Browning winning because he still went out there and won the game against the Jaguars. He still went out there. Joe Burrow got
Yeah,
hurt pretty early in that game, and Jake Browning still held it down. He beat actually a pretty good, decent team in the Jaguars. So I want to see it week 3, week 4, see if they win the games because the thing that's different is that last time Joe Burrow got hurt, the Bengals were like 0-2, and then he got hurt, and it was like, okay, it's kind of hard from going to starting an 0-2 start when your quarterback's hurt now. This time they're
yeah,
2-0, so right now they're second in the division. Like you said, the Browns aren't going to be doing anything. The Browns are probably going to finish dead last in the division, maybe one of the worst teams in the NFL. And I think
right.
honestly, this might come down to how good Aaron Rodgers does with the Steelers because we don't know what the Steelers are yet. They've had a good game where Aaron Rodgers looked amazing, throwing 4 touchdowns, and then he comes back and has a bad game with those 2 picks against the Seahawks. So I think it kind of
Yeah,
comes down to that because at the moment, I don't want to give up on the Bengals yet. And you never know. Jake Browning leads them to the playoffs 3 months from now. And we're in week 16, week 15, and maybe Joe Burrow comes back at the end of the year when he gets a wild card spot. Maybe he can make some noise, but I don't want to give up.
make
Yeah, make that
push.
little last second push, but I don't know. They might sit him for the rest of the season, but we just don't know yet. But I'm not ready to say the season's over. I want to see week 3 and week 4.
Yeah, that sounds pretty legit.
And now with the next one, guys, we're gonna get into is Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson threw for over 400 yards against the Cowboys. I think Russell Wilson had about 430 passing yards. Russell Wilson was moving around the pocket like he hasn't done in many years. Russell Wilson kind of looked like he was bringing back time a little bit. It looked like we saw like a young Russell Wilson out there throwing the deep ball that was just on target. And like I said, over 400 yards. But the one thing is they could not win the game. They lost the game. The one thing Russell Wilson did do is he made a mistake at the end of the game that cost them. And the one thing you know about Russell, especially at this age, he's going to give you one. And if you're going to go out there and you capitalize on that, you're going to win the game. And yeah, like it was a great performance from him. And I guess the question I have, and I'll lead this one off, is has he proven he should have been he should be the starter for the rest of the season? And I want to say yeah, because last week I was trying to I was thinking I was on the board of saying that Russell Wilson might be coming into this Dallas Cowboys game, and if he comes out here and does bad again, we're going to be talking about Jackson Dart coming and taking over. But now with him
Yeah,
throwing over 400 yards, looking that good, I do believe Russell Wilson might actually should be the starter the rest of the season. Let Jackson Dart sit behind him and see how a young, veteran quarterback leads them, and it shows that he can have a good game. He can come out there. I know they're 0-2 right now, but now they're going against the Chiefs, and we'll see what they do against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 0-2 as well, and it's going to be see how Russell Wilson does this game. Because if Russell Wilson comes out here and beats the Chiefs, we might be having a different conversation about him being a starter. Because I do believe he should be the starter for the rest of the season. Now, after I saw that game, if he would have came out there and threw another 2 picks and just looked really bad, I'd be like, yeah, I put Jackson Dart in. But 400 yards is not easy to do. I know people try to say, it's a new age, so people throw for more yards. I don't know. Josh Allen threw for 147 last week, and Russell Wilson threw for 400 plus. So it seems like it's pretty hard to do. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I think Russell Wilson's proven he should be the starter for the rest of the season.
yeah, pretty much. I agree, man. I mean, for now, I feel like he's good. Because clearly 400 passing yards in a game is not easy. I don't care if you're the backup, the starter, third
Hmm.
string. Even at a from the college level, like just in general in the game, throw that many pass yards, and for people that kind of writing him off since the beginning, like we kind of pretty much had Dallas winning the game in general,
Hmm.
but we didn't think it was going to come in neck and neck like that. He's obviously a little bit more experienced, so we kind of expect him a little bit to go through his progressions and make those plays when it's necessary. But all in all, like, yeah, I feel like for now he deserves to be the starter. I didn't like how they kind of threw Jackson Dart on some random play to kind of make a little
Yeah.
distraction when clearly nobody was fooled. Um, but the only thing I feel like in order for him to kind of keep that spot, he just has to kind of eliminate those little mental mistakes. Like towards the end, obviously, towards the I think it was overtime, he
Yeah.
had pretty much threw a pick, and it was like I
Hmm.
understand you've been slinging it, you've been going off over the top, it's been working all game, but like it was kind of unnecessary. And it was like, man, if you just kind of took your time, you guys could have got into field goal range and just kind of capped this game off. But as we said before, it's kind of looking like the old Russell Wilson, what he's been known for so long. But for now, yeah, he definitely deserves that spot.
Yeah, I like I said, I think he's proven he should probably be the starter. And with Jackson Dart still learning at his young age, I think not go. I want to get into that pick, like that pick he threw in overtime. Like you said, I think it was very unnecessary. I think he could have just toned it down a little bit. I feel like he was sipping his own Kool-Aid a little bit, thinking like, okay, I'm through for over 400 yards. They can't stop me. I can do whatever I want. And then he got a little bit too confident, and he went out there and threw a pick where it was just an unnecessary pick. He probably shouldn't even thrown that ball, trying to
Yeah.
fit something that was not there at all. And I just think that Russell needs to, like you said, if he just does not make those mental mistakes like he did at the end of the game, I think he can be good. I think he can come out there and the Giants could win some games. Like I was a guy that thought the Giants could make the playoffs this year, maybe getting that second spot in the division, but now they're 0-2.
Right.
That's going to be hard for them. But yeah, I think Russell Wilson had a good game, and he just needs to stop like a mental mistake. Just don't do that in one part game. Don't get too cocky, because the one thing about Russell Wilson, he is a professional. He might be one of the most professional quarterbacks in the league. Like if a young quarterbacks that are learned behind any quarterback, it should be Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's going to teach you how to work hard, how to be maybe like I think Russell was a fourth round pick. He's going to show you how to work hard and get up there and prove a lot of the doubters wrong. And he's a really nice guy. He does a lot of charity work outside the field. He rallies the troops really well. So I do believe he's a good guy to learn behind. So yeah, I think Russell Wilson should be the starter.
Yeah, most definitely. At least for now, you know.
Yeah. Now the next one, we're gonna get into another injury. The next two ones we're gonna be talking about an injury. Where now we're gonna get into the Vikings. JJ McCarthy's out now. JJ McCarthy with another injury where he just missed his whole entire rookie season with the torn meniscus, and now I can't remember what the injury he has this time. But I know he's gonna be out for at least a couple weeks.
I
And
think it was like his ankle or something.
yes, it was. It was an ankle injury. You're right. Yes, ankle injury, and I don't know. I think the thing I can say is that now Carson Wentz is going to be starting. We haven't seen Carson Wentz in a while. Carson Wentz is one of those guys that was having an MVP season. He gets hurt, comes back, and never looks the same. So Carson Wentz is going to be taking over the Vikings now for at least a couple weeks until JJ gets healthy. But the one thing I can say about JJ is the Vikings have only had one good quarter of good offense this whole entire season so far. They've had 8 quarters of play. Only one quarter so far they've had their offense working. And it seems like JJ wasn't moving the sticks at all. I see some people saying Carson Wentz might be a little bit of an upgrade at the moment for the guys, but honestly, JJ McCarthy then having Carson Wentz and saying it's an upgrade, that doesn't seem like that high praise, honestly, because Carson Wentz isn't that good as much anymore. But the question I'm going to say is, do you think Carson Wentz can keep the Vikings alive in the playoff spot as of right now? I think they're coming up and they're playing two backup quarterbacks going to be going against each other. They're playing the Bengals this week. So, do you think the
Yeah.
Vikings could be? Do you think Carson Wentz keep the Vikings alive for a playoff spot?
I mean, looking just from his resume, and obviously it didn't work out when he was in Indy or Washington, or obviously he was started out with the Eagles. But I mean, he's kind of been there before in that position to kind of take charge or kind of just cover for the time being, So obviously he's one of the more better choices, I guess you could say, in terms of the backup just by name. But I mean, I feel like not only is it doable for him to kind of lead the Vikings, but it's also his last chance to kind of prove in the league that he deserves to be there because,
Mm-hmm.
it's a young man's game and, the quarterback draft is going to be coming in strong. So it's like, it's really going to be his last chance to show what he's made of. But it shouldn't be too much of a big issue. I can honestly say that he can kind of hold it down, kind of similar to the situation that's going down in Cincy with Jake Browning taking over as Burrow's trying to recover from his injury. But shoot, it might even come down to uh, just a slug out between Minnesota and Detroit to try to figure out who's going to really come behind to sneak in right behind the Packers.
Mm-hmm. The way I guess I can answer this question is I don't think he can keep them alive for a playoff spot. I think he's not as a good quarterback as JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy is going to be a better quarterback, but at the moment JJ hasn't been playing good either, and it seems like that offense just can't get things together at the moment. And I'm not sure if
Yeah,
Carson Wentz can come in and do any better. Like I said, they played 8 quarters of football so far. Only one quarter of their offense has looked good at all, and I just don't think the Vikings are going to end up doing anything this season. Just the way I looked at it, like they went out there, they won a game against the Bears, but if we look at the Bears right now, they can't stop anybody right now, and so
yeah,
it just seems like that division is not as good as I thought it was going to be. I thought that was probably going to be one of the best divisions in the NFL, but now with JJ looking how he's looking, I don't think the Vikings are going to be that much. How the Bears are looking, where it seems like Caleb did a little bit better, but Ben Johnson's defense. Like just can't stop anybody right now. So I want to say no. I don't think he can keep them alive. I think the playoff hunt is probably over because I do believe Carson Wentz comes out here and probably at least within the next 3 games where he's going to be starting. I think he loses 2 of them, and I think after that, by the time JJ
Yeah.
comes back, I think it's kind of going to be too late for them to actually make that push. So I'm going to say no. I think the Viking season is kind of over at this moment, and me and you both didn't really expect much from the Vikings this year, but I just
Mm-mm.
believe it's probably over at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree. It's we didn't really from the jump. It didn't look like the Vikings are going to make any type of noise. I mean, um, I feel like at this point is JJ Justin Jefferson is he going to kind of force his way out or going to try to complain to the front office like, hey, something's got to give. You got to give me somebody who can get me the ball or just somebody that's going to hold it down for now until McCarthy comes back. But it's still early in the season, so I'm not going to write him off just yet. But same time, I don't really expect much either.
Yeah, like it's gonna be a tough road, especially when your starter quarterback wasn't looking that well, and now you're going to a backup quarterback that you have a backup quarterback that tends to be injury prone as well. So if Carson gets hurt, like I don't really know what's gonna happen there as well. Now get into it, like another injury, guys. Another injury, like I said, a lot of bad injuries this week. So we're gonna get into Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels is going to be out for a couple weeks for the Commanders now. He went out there and got an injury as well. And my question is, I'll take this. I'll take the lead on this one.
Yeah.
The question is, should the Commanders fans be worried about the long term health of Jayden Daniels? I'm going to say yes. I think they should, because coming into the league, I thought Jayden Daniels was a good quarterback. And don't get me wrong, I was a guy that thought Drake May and Caleb would be better. Like talking about as in like a better career, but that wasn't because of skill level. It was because I thought Jayden couldn't stay healthy. Jayden's legs are so skinny, and he's gonna have to put some meat on him because he can't be in the NFL taking those hits, running around as much as he does, and being that skinny. Even Lamar, when Lamar came into the league, he was really small. Lamar started getting hurt. And then at the end of the season, Lamar always had get an injury or something happening to him. And now Lamar, if you look at his legs, Lamar got little tree trunks. Like Lamar has put some weight on him now because he realized, you know what, I can't be in here playing a grown man's game with a little kid body. And
Yeah.
Jayden Daniels is very skinny, especially those legs, and that's what I'm worried about. It kind of reminds me when the way Jayden Daniel plays, and it seems it's the same exact team. They were known as the Redskins at the time, but now with the Commanders, it kind of reminds me of RG3, where RG3
Mhm.
was a dynamic quarterback, could run, could throw. I was the biggest RG3 fan, guys. I was telling people I thought RG3 was going to be better than Andrew Luck at the time, and he proved me right for one season. He led them to the playoffs. He was doing really well, and then knee just blew out. Like that's the one thing I say about those knees. When you have skinny legs like that, you can't take a hit from a guy that's 200 pounds bigger than you or 100 pounds bigger than you. And
Mhm.
especially if your own teammate even bumps, one of your offensive linemen bumps into you and you have those little legs, they're brittle, they're going to hurt your knees. So I think they should be worried about Jayden Daniels, not like from a skill level, because I do think Jayden Daniels is a good enough quarterback to be in this league. Arguably, he has a skill level to be a top 7, top 6 quarterback. But with how small he is, and now with him finally getting his first injury, where I thought he could have got hurt last year, but now it seems like it came this year, and he was already kind of having like a sophomore, excuse me, he was already having like a sophomore slump kind of season because he wasn't throwing dynamic balls and moving around as good as he was. But I think they should be worried because, like I said, he is very small, and I hope, I mean, knock on wood, because I don't hope. I hope that he doesn't keep this injury coming alive. But I think he needs to put his weight on him. So that's why I'll be a little bit worried.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, man, because I mean, people have to realize, like it or not, he is a pivotal piece to that team. So losing him is going to be big, especially with these next couple of games coming up. And who knows? Maybe it's not as serious. We can all be hopeful that it's not, but they're going to really need him as much as they can. And they really should be worried because not only he's a pivotal piece, but everybody else like is dependent on him in a sense because they don't really have a good backup like that. And
Hmm.
they're already struggling as it is. They can't get Debo the ball, let alone Scary Terry. So the running game is really nowhere to be found. So everybody's just kind of looking up like, well, we can only be hopeful moving forward, but without JD, it's just not going to be looking good.
Yeah, like I said, like you said too. I said the same thing. They were already not looking good. Their offensive side was they couldn't get Debo the ball. It seems like they're kind of confused on offense if we should run it, should we pass it, and when they do run it, I feel like guys are. I saw guys out there running the wrong routes, passes thrown behind them, or passes thrown in front of them because they made the cut too fast, or Jan. I can't. Sorry, excuse me, guys. Jayden Daniels could not throw the ball correctly. I mean, as in like timing wise, and it seems like the team wasn't like fitting that good at the moment, but like I said, I'm worried about his health. I hopefully he can come back and prove a lot of people wrong about that, but he needs to put some weight on him, or he's going to end up get injured a little bit more. So hopefully he does that. And now I guess the next one I'll get into is we're going to stay with the NFC East. It's going to be we're going to get to Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is having honestly a kind of a sleeper great season so far. Like he is, they're 1-1, but they had a great game against the Eagles. Or Dak went out there and had a great game, and then against the Giants they had a great game. And a lot of people were saying that the offense wasn't gonna be working. So a lot of people were saying that Dak's kind of not gonna be there, CD and them. The offense is not gonna be working, especially with the defense not gonna be able to get stops. And I think I told you the only way Dak was gonna lead the Cowboys to some wins is if he comes out there and puts up Joe Burrow type numbers like Joe did last year and throw a lot of touchdowns. And it seems like he's starting to do that. Like especially last week, he came up very clutch and he came out there and won the game. And he's throwing really well this season. So I guess my question is Dak Prescott making an MVP case, or is it kind of too early to say that?
I mean, even from somebody that used to be a Cowboy fan, I still got a lot of love for Dak. I truly feel like not only he's a really good quarterback still in the league, but he's such a very humble and tremendous human being offside the field. So
Hmm.
um, in my opinion, his confidence level is still like one of the very best in the league. Because when he's on his game, everybody doesn't really have much to say about him, regardless if they're a fan of the rival teams or not.
Yeah,
But what I did notice is that, like, I mean, it's still early in the season, but at the same time, he struggles a little bit in the first half, or a little bit right before in the
yeah,
halftime to get the offense going. But after that, he just gets into the groove and he starts to find everybody with ease. No matter how much time he has in the pocket. So, um, I wouldn't really say, in my opinion, that he's a runner up, but he's just really shy of being an MVP candidate.
yeah. I agree. I think I was if I had to put him in the MVP candidate, I would say he's in that third to like somewhere between that third and fifth range.
Yeah.
Because we have guys like Jordan Love is having a good season so far. We're having what's it called, Baker Mayfield looking good, Justin Herbert looking good. So we have other guys that we can put in that MVP conversation right now. It's only week 2, but we will see. But through his first 2 games, Dak has thrown for 550 yards already. Like he's already having already 550 yards in his first 2 games of the season, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's okay. But like just with how he led the Cowboys to a win, and the one thing people don't really understand is about sometimes about the MVP. It's about like sometimes it's about overachieving. If Dak Prescott can lead the Cowboys to the playoffs, like a lot of people thought they finished last in the division. I thought they finished last in the division, but now with Jayden Daniels getting hurt and the Giants not looking as good as I thought they would be, it just seems like now the Cowboys have momentum to go for that second spot in the division because I think the Eagles are going to hold that division down. But if Dak can make that push and keep playing how he's playing, because if he keeps a 2-1, maybe even raise that up to like a 3-1 ratio for touchdowns and keeps the momentum with the 500 yards in 2 games, he might be up there in an MVP conversation right now. Well, I'm gonna say like going forward, not right now, but like going forward if he keeps that happening.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, there's not too many flaws in his game. I just feel like he just has to keep it going, and without him, the confidence of that team is really down. So, as much as people can argue saying, "Oh, well, CD dropped some balls," and but even though he came out and showed everybody like, yeah, like that game was kind of a fluke because if I made those, we would have beat
Mhm.
the Eagles in the first game. But he was also a big reason why they were able to overcome it in overtime. So yeah, I feel like as long as Dak keeps doing what he's doing, then who knows? He might even get up there to top three.
Yeah, if like I said, if he keeps his momentum going, he will be in that conversation. But I think we kind of both agree a little bit that it's a little bit too early to say Dak Prescott's MVP. But he is making the case if he keeps his momentum going. And now staying on the MVP talk, we got my top 2 candidates right now we got Baker Mayfield and Justin Herbert through week two. I'm gonna go through the stats real quick. Justin Herbert has 560 yards for the first two games, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's kind of amazing right now what Justin Herbert is doing. Justin Herbert's out there balling right now. And let's go to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield right now. Let me grab this real quick. Baker Mayfield right now, 382 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Their QBR is basically the same. Justin Herbert has a 76.5 QBR. Baker Mayfield has a 75.4 QBR. So they're almost the same at the moment. Honestly, now I guess my question is, who's the MVP front runner at the moment? Are you going to say Baker Mayfield or Justin Herbert?
I think that was probably like the hardest topic I had to go over before we started this podcast today, is because, I mean, it's hard for me to choose at the moment, just because, in a sense, I feel like they're both almost on the same playing field right now. I mean, granted, Baker has some key injuries to the offensive line, so there's times where he kind of has to make something out of nothing,
Mm-hmm.
versus how comfortable Justin Herbert has been, or yeah, he's been in the pocket as of recently. So I mean, we just seen what happened to them against the Raiders. It was like, he wasn't even sweating coming into the game. He was just like, yeah, let me just kind of do my thing. Everybody's going to do their job. People are going to get open endlessly. So at the moment, I'm going to have to say both. And I would
Mm-hmm.
hope that they would both actually continue to have an outstanding season. I just, it was hard for me to choose. So I'm going to just say both on that.
Honestly, I think that's a very hard question as well. I think they're both probably the top leading candidates, but I'm gonna lean towards Baker Mayfield. I'm gonna lean towards Baker Mayfield just because I think you have to weigh it out to where I think a lot of people would say Justin Herbert because he beat the Chiefs. He went out there and actually did something that people didn't think he could do, and he went out there and beat the Chiefs as underdogs in that game and looked amazing doing it, like running for touchdown. I'm running for first downs, throwing some very key balls. But I'm leaning towards Baker Mayfield because he's led two game-winning drives in his first two games of the season. He's showing that
Man,
he's missed their clutch at the NFL. He had a dime to Emeka Ibuka the first game to score a touchdown to hold off the Falcons. This time, when the Texans scored, I'm sitting there like, dang, that's game. I was like, it's going to be over. Baker led a game-winning drive with, I think there was only 3 minutes on the clock. About 3 minutes on the clock, he had to go 80 yards, and he went all 80 yards, put him in position for Rashad White to run that ball in and get the touchdown to win the game. And yeah, I think it's a very hard question. Both these quarterbacks are playing amazing. Justin Herbert has the yards on him. Like I said, Justin Herbert has 560 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Baker has 386, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But I think I will lean into more of the storylines. Like Baker's led, like I said, two game-winning drives to where I think that's kind of leading him up front. But Justin Herbert did beat the Chiefs, and I know they beat the Raiders in Monday Night Football, but I thought that game was more of the Raiders losing it than more of the Chargers winning it. With Geno throwing 3 interceptions, like it
oh
just
my God.
that you can't you can't win a game when your quarterback throws 3 picks. So I felt like it was more on the Raiders side because even with 2 interceptions, the Raiders were keeping that game close until he throws.
Yeah.
Then he threw that third one. And we're just like, man, Gino, you're doing your team dirty. Your coach is doing everything possible to keep this game close. The defense is showing up, but you just 3 picks, man. Anybody that was a Gino believer, I feel like you got to hop off the train now because it seems like Gino is just might not be that guy going forward. Like I never thought Gino was that guy. Honestly, I was never a big Gino fan, and he's
Yeah.
been having a couple of good years, and people are kind of hopping on board. Like, oh, is Gino a top 10 quarterback? After last night's game, I think we can easily say no. He's not a top 10 quarterback. So going back to the question, I'm going to lean Baker Mayfield because of those two game-winning drives. And going back to our last week's question, I think the answer is yes. Now he is the most clutchest quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. Um, he definitely just has the potential to go all the way. And I'm not trying to sound biased because I'm not just a fan of him and the Bucks, but he's just continuously proving it week by week, man. And he has the biggest heart on the team. He's clearly the leader, and he's made for these big moments. Like he pretty much, like they showed a little video of him or a little picture or whatever on social media, and he was just like closing his eyes on the bench, like, yeah, like this is what I practice for. This is what I do in my sleep. So as much
Mm-hmm.
as it wasn't an easy 2-minute drill, it was like he does this for a living. So as long as he's going to continue to keep working his magic no matter what. So it's just going to be a beautiful thing to keep watching.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And as I honestly, as of right now, I think this is going to be the two MVP front runners going to the NFL. And now getting into staying with the MVP conversation, I did say me and you were going to probably try to pick a different MVP because we both had Joe Burrow winning MVP. Now with him getting hurt, I feel like already in week two, it's a little early. If it was halfway through the season, I'd be like, okay, no, we can't pick another one. But with it being barely week two, Joe Burrow getting hurt, now he doesn't have a chance of winning MVP. I'm gonna go and say Baker Mayfield wins MVP this year. I already had him finishing second in the MVP conversation before, as I was debating between Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield, but I'm gonna go Baker because I do believe they're gonna be a number one, maybe even number two seed in the East. He's already throwing 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and I think he can keep that up. Not saying 0 interceptions, but at least keep up the momentum. 2 game winning drives. Who says he doesn't get 2 or 3 more down the road? And yeah, I'm gonna say Baker Mayfield. Now that Joe Burrow's hurt, I'm gonna say Baker Mayfield's gonna win MVP.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, man, because like I said, not trying to sound biased, but like I honestly don't know anybody right off the bat that just deserves it legitimately right now because
Hmm.
you from adding on to what you were just saying earlier, like looking at from the storyline, looking from his journey, like he was pretty much from the last few teams after Cleveland, everybody's been pretty much writing him off, and not only that, but they were just pretty much telling him, "Don't do what you do, don't bark at people, don't
Hmm.
really pretty much play your game and don't play with that high intensity." But now that he's found a home and he's able to kind of do everything more than what he's asked for, it's like, man, the ceiling is really high, and I don't really see this train slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah. Okay. So we both kind of agree. I think Baker Mayfield's gonna be our new pick for MVP because, like I said, Joe Burrow hurt in week two. It kind of hurt my heart. It kind of hurt my heart. I was expecting a big season for Joe Burrow this year. But now going to a guy that's not going to get MVP this season, and Caleb Williams. The Bears are 0-2 so far to start off the season. They've lost both the first 2 games. They got blown out against the Lions this game, where we both picked the Bears. We both thought the Bears could honestly make a comeback in week two and show up against the Lions. The Lions put up a 50 piece on them, and Caleb, I'm not gonna lie, Caleb looked a little better. He had 2 touchdowns. He looked a little bit better than the first game. He did look a little better, but they just lost the game again. He couldn't make the plays when they needed it. They gave
Yeah.
up 52 points. So my question is, do you think the 0-2 starts more on Caleb Williams or Ben Johnson?
I mean, for the most part, I feel like it's a bit both, but I'm gonna lean towards Ben on this one, just for the simple fact that his schemes aren't bad. Like, you can clearly see of what direction they're trying to go on the field. Rather, if they're trying to, obviously they're more pass heavy because they're trying to go that with, the direction with Caleb. But
Hmm.
um, the run game really doesn't do too much other than try to get, a measly couple yards to just kind of set them up for that good position, so they don't have a third and 12. But I feel like it really has to fall back on him because Caleb can only really do so much. And as we've seen, like you said, like he's done a lot better this week just with his progression and his reads on the field. He's done better of stepping into the pocket, not trying to be a tad bit late on these throws to a Duzier or whoever is open. So I feel like Ben Johnson has to do a little bit more job of getting everybody more involved and on the same page. And, you know, everybody else that's not Caleb Williams has to also help him out as well. So,
Hmm.
when everybody's open and stuff, and they obviously see him when pocket's starting to collapse, and he kind of has to step out of that. They kind of have to work with him and show him like, hey, I'm gonna reroute to over here, or I'm gonna go towards the sideline, or I know this is a an in route, but I'm gonna just start booking it towards the pylon. So it's like, man, at the end of the day, it has to kind of be a team effort, all in all. But so far, I feel like their 0-2 has to be on Ben Johnson.
I agree. I'm fully on the Ben Johnson so far, where he's the blame for the 0-2 start. He was supposed to be America's best coach. Everyone was like the biggest fan of Ben Johnson. Everyone loved the guy. He was the number one coach coming into the offseason of who's going to get the job, who's going to get Ben Johnson. And he went to the Bears. And when he went to the Bears, everyone was like, okay, now they got a good offensive line. They got Caleb Williams that's coming to his second year. They could possibly make it some noise. They got DeAndre Swift in the backfield. They got Romeo Duze. They have a lot of people out there that's going to help them. Their defense is looking okay because they've always had a good defense. And now we're giving up 52 points. this has to show that Ben Johnson is obviously an offensive coordinator, and he needs to get a a hold of his defense. I know he's not. I know he doesn't really coach the defense as much. He has a defensive coordinator for that, but he's the head coach. All eyes go on him at the end of the day. We don't sit here and blame offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. We go out here, we talk about the coach. And to give up 52 points, especially against a guy in Dan Campbell that you were his offensive coordinator, you know what Dan Campbell tries to do, and Dan Campbell kind of went out there and made it a statement to prove that you're just the offensive coordinator, not a head coach. Scoring 52 points and a pilot, even when he didn't need to, piling it on to get to 50 points just to prove a point again on you, and you couldn't do anything to stop it. So I know Caleb had a bad game one. Caleb had a better game two, but scoring 21, 22 points as a quarterback for a team, that's decent. Like that's not bad. Like if Caleb went out there and only scored 10 or 12 points, I'd be like, okay, yeah, we're going to him because he couldn't score. You put up at least 20, and now there's nothing you can do because your defense is giving up 52. What else are you supposed to do? Like, so
Right.
I think it's more on Ben Johnson. I think, like I told you last week, I compared it to where I compared it to like a relationship with Caleb Williams, where I was like, I think it might be that time to see better, see different people. Because I was about to hop off the Caleb train. At the moment, I can compare it to. He got me so mad. I told him get out of my car, and then he was driving with me. I told him get out of my car. As I was over with him. Now after seeing this game, I turned back around. I picked him back up. I said, "You ride in the back seat now, but you're on board, but you're in the back seat now." But Caleb earned my respect back just a little bit because, like I said, I was about to hop off board. Now I'm thinking he's getting better, and Ben Johnson said the same thing. Ben Johnson said he's progressing a little bit more. He's getting the offense a little more. He's doing better. But Ben, what are you supposed to be doing if Caleb Williams is going out there playing better, but your defense is getting worse every week? So
Yeah,
yeah,
they're getting work.
yeah, I'm blaming it on Ben. I think Ben needs to get a hold of his defense.
Yeah, they just moving forward because obviously it's not the end of the world. It's been a little tug and pull and a rough start. Obviously, to trying to pull out these wins. Obviously, they just couldn't stop anybody when it came down to the defensive side of the ball. But offensively, man, they just moving forward. They really just gotta stop being scared. They really just
Hmm.
gotta keep playing their game. And just about everybody knows what to do on that team. And like I said, it's a collective effort. So everybody just kind of needs to help each other out, including Ben Johnson.
Hmm. And one thing I do want to say as well, it seems like the run game, they can't get the run game going either. DeAndre Swift's supposed to be this dynamic running back that can run, he can catch balls, he can move around everywhere. And that's the reason why I feel like he liked DeAndre Swift so much because he had Gibbs and he had Montgomery. So he kind of had that 1-2 punch where Gibbs can catch the ball and run the ball. Montgomery can catch the ball and run the ball. Now Swift can do the same thing, but it seems like Ben's schemes are not really working on the running game either. And I feel like it's a lot of one thing about quarterbacks I know from watching a long time. No quarterback unless you're like Joe Burrow, Peyton Manning, even Peyton sometimes, even Tom Brady, even Mahomes. But unless you're like that top echelon of quarterback, like top five, top three quarterback in the league, you're not going to be able to do that much if your run game's not doing anything. Because now the defense is just playing for a pass because they don't respect your run game. You need to work off of play action. You need to work off of some screens. You need to work off of different things to have them watching your running back. And if all eyes are on you as a quarterback, there's not much you can do else because the defense is playing just to stop you because they don't respect anything else.
Yeah, seriously. Like, if you can't start strong off the run, like how else you're almost kind of scared, like, well, how am I gonna hold up? How many seconds can my quarterback actually hang in the pocket? So yeah, I would have to totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, so I think we're both kind of on board. Like you said, it's a little bit of both, but I think you're leaning. You say you lean a little bit more Ben Johnson, but I'm fully on Ben Johnson's head right now. I think he should go and honestly, if he doesn't not have a better season, I think maybe give him one more, and he might have to think about going back to being an offensive coordinator, and he needs to turn this around really fast. And now the next one, a guy I've liked for a while, and he came back and started a game last game, and he went out there and had a great game again. Mac Jones went out there and had a great game with the 49ers, beating the New Orleans Saints. And a lot of people, I feel like, were writing his 49ers off. A lot of people were thinking, oh, Mac Jones starting. We were on live when we were breaking down our games, and I realized Mac Jones was starting, and I was like, oh no. I was like, they're going to blow them out. I was like, because Mac Jones is a good quarterback. And I would say, is it more of Mac Jones showing that he is as good as Brock Purdy, or is it more of just saying that it was the Saints defense and probably slow the brakes on Mac Jones?
I think, I mean, even him leaving and departing from New England, I still feel like Mac Jones is still up there. Who knows? He can give Brock Purdy a run for his money. I mean, that's pretty much what he showed.
Hmm.
He did have a great game, and it kind of not really too many people were trying to hold him down, but at the same time, they're like, "Oh wow, you almost had like a perfect game in a sense." So he looked really good. He fits right into that offense, and it was like, as if Brock Purdy is not there. So, in a sense, I feel like he really is doing a good job of handling that situation and being put out there last minute to start that game. But
Hmm.
also at the same time, I want to see more of that moving forward because I don't really know personally how long Brock Purdy's going to be out, and everybody's so used to him being accustomed to that offense. But it was against the Saints at the same time, so it's like, yeah, we expected the Niners to come out with the dub, but against that Saints, it wasn't going to really be much to kind of look forward to. So it's like, okay, at this point, just about if not every quarterback, every other quarterback is going to tear up the Saints defense or just the team as a whole. So I'm actually rooting for them. So I'm kind of excited.
So I just checked it right now. Kyle Shanahan just came out with the report earlier today saying Brock Purdy has a chance to be back and play this Sunday. So they have the Cardinals this week, so Brock Purdy has a chance to come back. But I'm going to say I just liked how Mac Jones played. I liked Mac Jones a lot. I liked him at Alabama. I liked him when he was in New England, but I feel like at New England he had kind of a bad hand when he had what is it? What was the defensive coordinator that they made the offensive coordinator? Where Bill just went out there and just I don't know what Bill was doing. Was it Jerry Judge or something like that? Something I think it was. I can't remember the guy's name, but
The coach right now?
Bill had a defensive coordinator that he hired as the offensive coordinator of his team, and that's who Mac Jones' offensive coordinator was. I think it was something Judge. I think I might have to look that up a little bit more, but I feel like he was just a dealt the bad hand in New England. I feel like he had no weapons around him. He had to do everything himself. He had a good offensive coordinator one year with McDaniel, Josh McDaniels, when he went out there and made the Pro Bowl. It went out there and was arguable for Rookie of the Year. And then after that, McDaniels gets another job. He's left with just Bill Belichick, where Bill's a good coach, but more on the defensive side. He had no offensive coordinator. He had no weapons. And now he comes out here to San Francisco, where he has weapons. He has a good coach that knows the offensive game. And 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Like, went out there and proved he could play quarterback really well. And I'm going to tell you right now, Brock Purdy, I feel like could be on the hot seat. I know he just got paid, but if Brock Purdy doesn't come back and have a really good game and continue having good games, like if Brock Purdy comes back and loses to the Cardinals, I think Mac Jones, they could be looking at him to maybe get the start again because yes, they might have made a mistake paying Brock Purdy all that money because they have a guy in Mac Jones. I feel like coming out of college was more of a looked at quarterback than Brock Purdy was. And he's only 27 years old, so he's still young. He's still learning. And I want to go look at Brock. What was Brock Purdy's stats for the one game he played? Let me see. Brock Purdy. So Mac Jones had 279 with 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Let's go look what Brock Purdy had. Brock Purdy had 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he already has 2 picks thrown this season, and that was against the Seattle Seahawks. And that he barely beat the Seahawks. Like I said, it was just the Saints. So we might have to calm our brakes a little bit because it was the Saints, but I want to see what happens this week in Arizona. Brock Purdy's from Arizona. He comes out there and plays against the Cardinals, and we'll see how he does. But if Mac Jones, they end up starting him against Arizona, and he goes out there and beats Arizona again and has another 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards again, I think we might be having to have a conversation because I was never the big Brock Purdy guy. I never thought Brock Purdy was going to be like a top 10 quarterback. I feel like he had a good couple years because he had like the Avengers around him. So
Yeah.
he just had a good system and a good people around him to make him look better with a great offensive line. And now Mac Jones kind of to me just showed it. So yeah, I'm gonna say it was. I want to say it was more Mac Jones showing that he could play in the NFL still, but like I said, it was the Saints.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we could both agree on that. And then it can go either or, and that can favor Mac Jones kind of potentially taking over as a starting position at quarterback because, let's say hypothetically the Niners do just kind of jumped the gun and rushed for Purdy to come back against Arizona this week, and he doesn't look comfortable, or he's like, oh, is this injury is still bothering me, or he just doesn't really have a good game, I can kind of start building up that conversation, like, huh, maybe we need to start starting Mac at that position. But then also, if they do sit Brock for one more game and they have Mac Jones coming in and he actually balls out like how he did this week against the Saints, then it also looks good in his favor. So either way, I feel like it's up for taking, and he has every right to kind of compete.
Yeah, I'm honestly ready to say, if Mac Jones starts this weekend against the Cardinals, I think I'm gonna pick the Niners to win the game. But if Brock Purdy goes in to starting the game against the Cardinals, I think I'm gonna pick the Cardinals because I don't know if Brock Purdy's gonna get rushed back or not, and I personally just think Mac Jones just looked really, really comfortable, like he belonged there. So I'm ready to say, like I said, like you said, same thing. It's a conversation to be had right now, I believe. So we'll see what comes into this next week and see how they either one, see which one plays against the Cardinals and how they do. So now getting into the next one. Next question is we're gonna get into the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are 0-2. The first time Patrick Mahomes has lost 3 games in a row in his whole entire career. He's lost 3 in a row already to the Eagles themselves. And it seems like the Eagles have his numbers. So they're 0-2 to start the year. This is a must win this weekend for them against the Giants because only one team in the history of the NFL started 0-3 and still made the playoffs. So I think the Broncos kind of let them off the hook where that dumb call. I've
Oh my
le-
God.
leverage where he missed the field goal, a 15-yard penalty for leverage. Oh, leverage was I've never even heard of the penalty, but I did some research on it. I never heard of it, but leverage was only called 5 times all last season. So it's like not a thing people call often. They don't really call it at all. But the Broncos losing that game to the Colts on a dumb leverage call, where I think they should just get rid of that. Like, guys, it's a field goal. Like, what do you mean leverage? Because I think it's because he said he held the one guy down while the other guy jumped over and tried to block the kick. What am I supposed to do? Like,
Right.
isn't that a part of the game? Like moving him out of the way so I can get the guy to. I think it's a really dumb penalty. But getting into this, I think the Broncos. I'm mad too because the Broncos. I had money on the Broncos. I picked the Broncos, so I'm more mad about that. So, what's it
Yeah.
called? But the Broncos kind of let the Chiefs off the hook because if the Broncos are 2-0 and the Chargers were 2-0 and the Chiefs are 0-2, that would look really bad and they'll have a long way to come to try to get into that playoffs. But now I think the Broncos losing that one game, the Chiefs have a little bit of a step forward because they know if we just come in here and beat the Giants and go 1-2, I think they're going to try to make that playoff push. But just the question I have for you on this is going to be: is it time for the Chiefs? Is it time for the Chiefs to panic on their playoff hopes?
Yeah, I would have to say so, in my personal opinion, that they're gonna have to. They have no choice because Pat is really not looking good behind that O line. Regardless,
Hmm.
anybody has to say like, oh, he could still do it and this and that. He looks very much in trouble. He's always having to kind of just he's constantly having to get out of pocket for starters. And then when he's looking downfield, like, you know, despite the injuries as well, like he doesn't really have nobody else to throw to. Like
Hmm.
Juju's not really a threat in that sense. He might give you a 5, 6 yards just to kind of get it down the field. But like we were mentioning last time, Hollywood Brown is not necessarily the same as he once was when they made that Super Bowl run the last time they won.
Yeah.
So, and as for everybody else that's next in line, next man up in that depth chart, I'm not really sold on them. So they have really a lot to work to do on that. But at the same time, they're relying too much on their defense to kind of make plays. So if the season, I mean not the season, sorry, if the playoffs were to start by next week, I definitely wouldn't have seen them coming in and actually doing anything, let alone like even making a push at all because right now they don't really look like the same team that everybody's so used to with Pat Mahomes. So I'm gonna have to say no.
Yeah. Oh, you said no on the playoffs. Or are you saying no on the panic?
Um, no, like no on the playoffs. And yes to the panic because
Okay.
like as you said, like they pretty much lost three straight in a row, and what, four to the Eagles.
Yeah, three in a row to the Eagles so far,
Three.
and three in a row since the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl in their first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and obviously, just like everybody else, like it's still really early, so who knows? They might go on a little run, but at the same time, I don't see that because they just consistently shown week by week right now. Like it's always something. If it's not Pat making these reads, which most of the time it's not as often, but at the same time, he doesn't really have the help. Like he's constantly having to get out the pocket. He really doesn't have anybody reliable in that way to get the ball to, and the running game is kind of mediocre. It's not the worst right now, but it was granted it was against a tough Philly defense, but moving forward, I don't really see them actually making the playoffs. And who knows, it may change. Something might spark, and people might start coming back and get into the picture. But yeah, I don't. They're not really looking like the same KC Chiefs.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I told you last week I thought it was time for panic. After they lost to week one to the Eagles, I think that was our question. I was like, is it time for us to say the Chiefs dynasty's over? And is it time for them, the fans, to kind of like be panicking? And you were, I think at the moment, you were like, no, it's only week one. I said no. I said yes because they lost to the Chargers, the team they always beat. And it just seems like they're having not having their way as much anymore. And now I just think it is time for panic for sure. 0-2. If you go in here and lose to the Giants, where Russell Wilson looked like he was really good, put up 40 points on the Cowboys defense, where Cowboys defense isn't that good, but the point is he put up 40 points basically, and he had 450 yards. I
Yeah,
think if he goes out there and does the same exact thing, the Chiefs better win this game because if the Chiefs go 0-3, they're for sure not making the playoffs this season. I think the dynasty's over for sure. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be able to come back from it, and they have not been looking good at all. Their offensive line, like you said, Mahomes has to get the ball out or he's running the ball a lot more. The weapons out there, Kelsey looking older. Kelsey, he's not moving as fast as he used to. He's planning on starting like a family and getting out, getting married soon to Taylor Swift. So I think he's distracted a lot. He has a podcast he does with his brother a lot now, so I feel like he's more distracted. Rice is still hurt. Xavier Worthy is still hurt. And now it's right now it's just Hollywood Brown and Kelsey. And by the time Rice even comes back, and whenever Xavier Worthy comes back, if they're like 1-4 by the time these guys get back, well, I don't really know what else they're gonna do. So I do believe it's time for panic for the Chiefs. I'm gonna say I told you in the beginning of the year I was close to saying the Chiefs were gonna make the playoffs. I should just came on here and be like Chiefs are not gonna make the playoffs because that was my preseason prediction. But then saw some injuries to the Chargers where it seems like it's not even mattering to the Chargers. Like they're just plug and play.
mhm,
So
yeah.
I just think the Chiefs are in panic mode, and I don't honestly they might miss the playoffs this year. I agree with you.
Like right now, I can honestly say, I mean, we could both agree it is definitely panic time and hit that button. But if it's, and not to downplay the Giants, because they have the potential to kind of knock them off. If Russell
Hmm.
has a strong game like that, and you get neighbors to rock, and
And
um,
it's in New York.
yeah, oh yeah, I didn't know that. So if it's in New York, then they definitely have that advantage to them already. So um, if they end up, like I said, not to kind of downplay the Giants, but if they end up losing to them in New York, I'm gonna just say, forget panic mode. This is Mayday.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like they lose to the Giants. I think their playoffs hope is over and the dynasty's over. And I think Travis Kelsey might be looking to retire after the season if they don't make the playoffs. So I think that's it we
Yeah.
have for on that one. Now, getting into a college football topic, I just want to get into real quick. This guy, we're going to be talking about him for a while because he was supposed to be the number one overall pick, and now he's projected to go down as like sixth or seventh because the quarterback from LSU is projected to go number one to the Saints now. I can't remember his name, but he's looking good. But
Yeah.
Arch Man, I can't remember his name, but he's looking good so far. But now we're gonna get into Arch Manning. Arch Manning went out there. He had a good game against I think it was San Jose State. Was it San Jose State that played in the second game? I think it was. Maybe I'm wrong. Is it San Jose? I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Think
it,
yeah.
it was San Jose State. So he went out there. He had a really good game in that one, and I thought it was going to be a bounce back. I was like, okay, here comes Arch Manning. He's going to have a bounce back game. Then last week he played against UTEP, where he just looked bad. He went out there for had 140 yards. I think he threw an interception. He had one interception and one touchdown against a team in UTEP that's not even that good, and
No.
he just doesn't look comfortable at all. It seems like his throwing motion is kind of changing a little bit. He went from like actually going like full on over the top to now where he has his left foot too forward. He's kind of like like slinging it a little bit more. And I'm like, I think he's kind of losing his touch. I think he needs to get a hold of that because as a young quarter, I'm not giving up on Arch Manning. I do think Arch Manning is going to be a good quarterback one day. And he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I still believe it. But he needs to get over the hump. But the one thing I am ready to say is I think he should stay one more year at Texas and not come into this draft. His grandpa Archie did say, "Oh, he's not going to come out of the draft this year. He's going to stay one more year and try to get better." And I was kind of like, "No, I think he's going to come out of the come out and get into the draft because he was projected to go number one. Why not go come out if going to be number one?" But I feel like his grandpa saw some stuff that needed to be worked on. That's why he said that. I just feel like he didn't want to come out there and say, "Oh no, he needs to work on some stuff. He's not that good yet. We need to get him ready." But instead of saying that, he just said, "No, we're going to stay one more year in college." And yeah, I think he needs one more year. I'm ready to say he's not. He shouldn't come out of this draft class because I feel like if he does, he's going to be rushing it a little too early. And I feel like if he stays at Texas maybe 1, 2 more years, and then we can start talking about Arch Manning getting to the league because he just doesn't look comfortable right now. But I have not given hope on the kid.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit early for myself because I am an Arch Manning fan coming into this season with the Longhorns. So, and yeah, he does need to kind of stay one more year to kind of, progress and kind of grow still because obviously, we kind of give him grace because you're playing the number one team in all the nation to start the season against the
Hmm.
Buckeyes of Ohio State. So, that I wasn't really putting too much pressure on him. Obviously, he didn't really have a good game at all. And then, yeah, he looked a bit better against, yeah, the San Jose Spartans, which was kind of a gimme game because it's like it's San
Yeah.
Jose. They're not good really in any sport for that matter. And then still struggling against a team like UTEP, which is like not necessarily they're bad, but they're not the worst.
Hmm.
So if you're struggling against teams like that, then it's starting to be like, okay, man, obviously you still need a lot of growing to do. But overall, he just kind of looks nervous. Like I'm like, man,
Hmm.
just you have people on your team, you have people talking to you all the time and just saying, hey, man, just do you play your game. We know what you're bringing into the table, but he just seems like again, he just seems like he's not really focused. He's not. He just kind of overthinks everything. He's kind of like you're saying, he's taking that extra step, and his if it's not that, then it's that throwing motion of his arm. So who knows? But then at the same time, he kind of has to learn quick because the season just started, but it's also going to get a lot tougher. He's going to start playing a
Hmm.
lot of these teams that are going to go straight after him, and not only just to him because he's going to be playing a lot of teams that are ranked. So um, I still believe in him, and it may take a little bit more time than I think. But at the same time, he like I said, he has to kind of get it going.
Yeah, and with them being the number one overall team, which I thought it was kind of premature. I thought that them being ranked number one going into this year was kind of premature. I didn't think they'd be ranked number one. I'm not a big college football guy, but I do keep up with like the top ranking teams. I don't watch a lot. I'm not sitting here watching San Jose State or watching UTEP a lot and all that stuff, but I do keep up with like the top 25 teams. And from them coming into number one, with now them being all the way down to eighth, that says the big story because I know they lost to Ohio State, but Ohio State might be the best team in the nation this year, like overall, because they have a lot of great players over there. But like I said,
Mhm.
I wasn't really worried about the Ohio State game. Like, you know what? He went against the Pat Patricia defense where they have a lot of great players over there. They basically have like five NFL players on their defensive team. So it was kind of a tough first start. Then going against UTEP, that's when I was kind of getting a little worried. But like you said, I said I'm not giving up on him at all. I still believe in Arch Manning, but he needs to get it together, and he probably should stay at least one more year. So
Facts.
so now getting into the back into the NFL, we're gonna get into the Thursday night football slate, guys. Thursday night football, we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins. They're gonna be playing in Buffalo. I guess the question is going to be, do you see more of a Bills blowout or a good game?
I mean, I think it's just righteous thing for myself, but I mean, not to kind of sound cocky in that way, but I mean, like it's the Bills playing against probably the one of the worst teams in the league. So I feel like it is going to kind of, in a sense, be a blowout because I still don't see anything from Tua with this offense. He showed a little bit of signs towards the last game or this past Sunday, but at the same time, like man, he's like the dude is literally like one hit away from his career being over.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Tyreek still feels really frustrated within the offense. I think he was kind of just throwing a little tantrum on the sideline or towards his coach. And he doesn't really have much to say when it comes down to, having these interviews after the game. So, and the chemistry just doesn't look there like if it's there at all. So I'm gonna have to just say, yeah, it's probably gonna be a blowout in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bills blow them out. I'm going to say Bills like 41-17, something like that. I'm going to say Bills
Yeah.
probably like a straight blowout. They're playing in Buffalo. The Miami Dolphins have never played in good in cold weather, so they're going to come out there. They're probably not going to play that good either. And the one thing that kind of like thinks it's over between Tyreek and Tua is where Tua came out with a thing he said this past week where I'm not gonna I'm gonna like kind of like summarize what he said because I don't know the exact quote, but basically what he
Yeah.
said is that Tyreek needs to keep his head up more and watch the ball and basically come back to the ball if he needs to be. He says because basically some of the balls are going to be underthrown and he's going to need him to go get it. I'm like, first off, you don't say that as a quarterback. You just kind of just like keep your mouth shut. Don't say that. You keep that in house. You don't say that to the media. And the other thing is kind of just like, what do you mean some of the balls are going to be kind of underthrown and you're going to have to go and get it a little bit? Like
Right.
you're supposed to be on target with your wide receiver to where you're supposed to throw the ball and it's supposed to drop right in his hands wherever he's at. And other thing is like if Tyreek, same thing with him. You're not supposed to just be speeding out there and thinking, okay, he's gonna throw it to me as far as he can go, and I'm just gonna go wherever and get open. You guys are supposed to be on the right track, know where you're gonna be, know where the ball's gonna be at all times, and it just seems like they're on the right track right now. I have a feeling the Miami Dolphins could win like 3 games this season. I think it's going to be a really bad season. Tyree
Yeah.
just wants to be back in Kansas City so bad. I want to be surprised if Kansas City tries to make a trade for Tyreek and try to get him back over there because, like I said, they're in panic mode. They need something else on the offensive end, and maybe Tyreek is the answer if they can get a trade because Mike McDaniel just looks stressed out. This man came in looking very young, like the little whiz kid. Now he looks like he's getting older and older by the week, and he's like it just looking very stressed out. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a blowout. I think Bills win the game. I'm gonna say 41-17.
Yeah. And if that, I could definitely see Buffalo just kind of scoring every drive they have in this game coming up. And the way we're talking about too, and this offense are just not in sync. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much giving them grace in the sense of like, yeah, if you guys put up 17, I mean, you're still gonna get blown out, but I don't even see them. I mean, I could hardly even see them get down the field at all. So I don't know. It's gonna be really tough moving forward.
Yeah, we're both on the same board. I feel like this Thursday night football game coming into it, people were kind of like, "Oh, it might be a good game," but now how we're seeing it, it's like it doesn't seem like it. Right now, the Buffalo Bills are 11-point favorites. They're a minus 800 to win the game. So, like, it just seems like everybody is on the Bills this week, and tune into my video later on, guys, because I will be having some player props out because we're not taking no 11-point favorites. I'm not putting no 11. I'm not paying 11 points. It got me messed up. It's too many dang points. But I will have some player props. So come in. I'm probably going to be leaning something with Josh Allen, James Cook, try to put something in there with one of those guys. But that's going to be it for that game because there's not that much to talk about because it's going to be a blowout. So now we're going to get into our last topic of the day, guys. Last week we gave you our top 5 teams of the NFL. Now we're going to do it again. I'm going to lead off this one, give you my top 5 teams, then we'll go into heads of top 5 teams. My top 5 teams in the NFL so far this week. I'm going to go number 5, the Baltimore Ravens. With just with the Baltimore Ravens being able to put up 40 points twice now against the Browns and then against the Bills, they're showing that they're a really good team. And I do believe the Ravens, after coming off that loss, is gonna get better and better as the season goes. I see the Ravens being a top 3 team in the league eventually, but right now I'm gonna put them at 5 just because they just beat the Browns and they did come off a loss to the Bills. But it's the Bills. The Bills are a top team in the league, so I'm gonna give 5. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Ravens. At 4, I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers are the 4th best team in this league. They started 2-0, 2 game winning drives. They proved that they can play very clutch. Their defense has been playing decently at the moment. Like when I say decently, their defense plays really well up until they need a stop, and it seems like they give up points when they need to stop. But I do believe they're going to get that fixed. They have a really good coach, so I do believe they're going to get that fixed. They have injuries on their offensive line. Chris Godwin's not even back yet, so I do expect those guys to come back and them to get better as the season goes more. So that's me for more projecting. So I'm gonna go with number 4. I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers. And number 3, I'm gonna go with the Los Angeles Rams. I think the Rams are a top 3 team in the league. They just showed this past week that their offense is nasty with now Devontae Adams and Matt Stafford is kind of getting that chemistry together, and Puka Nakua's chemistry with Matthew Stafford is already there. That defensive line, guys, they have 8 sacks, 6 different players. So it seems like they are just getting to the quarterback from wherever. I feel like they're trying to double Jared Verse, and while they're doubling Jared Verse, all the other guys are getting to the quarterback. They were the least penalized team last season and the youngest defense in the NFL. So they're just getting better and more they learn. So I have the Rams. I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles are at number 2. I think the Eagles, they're starting off 2-0. Yes, they haven't had a really good two games so far. I mean, they're barely winning. They're using the tush push, but they are defending champions. They are 2-0, so I cannot move them out of the top 5. So I've got the Eagles at number 2, and number 1, I got the Packers. The Packers are showing that defense looks amazing. Jordan Love's looking really good. Everything, it seems like they have no weakness on that team at the moment. So I think the Packers are the best team in the NFL right now. And guys, I'm missing one team. I know I'm missing one team. Scratched it a little bit because I just came off my top of my head. So I'm gonna do this real quick because I kind of messed up. Kind of messed up because I left the Bills. I just thought about it. I was like, wait, where's the Bills? In my head when I said that list, I was like, wait, where's the Bills? So let me restate it. I'm gonna take the Ravens out. I'm gonna put the Ravens at 6, just 6 right there, and then I'm gonna go Bucks 5, Rams 4, Eagles 3, Bills 2, and the Packers 1. So we're gonna slide the Ravens out of there just a little bit, just because they do have a loss on the record. So as I could not make a top 5 without putting the Buffalo Bills in there, I just had to I messed that up a little bit because I was not looking at my list. I was trying to just remember what my list said. So like repeat it one more time: 5 Buccaneers, 4 4 Rams, 3 Eagles, 2 Bills, number 1 Packers.
Man, yeah, that's a hell of a list right there. Um, I think for start off with at 5, I'm gonna have to go with Dallas, just because I mean
Okay.
it was it could have went either way. Just depend, they were like one turnover away from realistically losing the game, but they hung in there despite some key injuries, not too many, but at the same time that the loss, or yeah, the little injury to having Deron Bland on the opposite side from Trayvon Diggs, and not really having somebody reliable too much at the safety position really got them in trouble. And obviously, see, like Russell Wilson just had a field day on them, but they were
Mhm.
just those little mistakes away from not really making it a game in a sense, or you really haven't had shouldn't have went to overtime. So and Dak just kind of hung in there despite kind of having like a low scoring first half. And he not only was just slinging the ball when it came down to it in the second half, but and getting into CD, but also when the last 20 seconds when the Giants scored, everybody pretty much ripped them off already, and it was a
Mhm.
home game, so it was like ripping everybody's heart. But Dak, all it took was just one decent throw, a pretty good throw at that, actually, down to get them in field goal position to get them to kick it to 3 points to get to overtime. So I'm gonna have them at 5 because of they were definitely showing the fight towards the end.
Mhm.
For number 4, I'm gonna have my Bucks because they've showed the resilience, and it was a tough game, kind of similar to how it was when we played Atlanta the first game of the season. Defensively, they were just looking like they were trying to figure things out, and then they lost Kalijah Cansey, which was supposed to be a huge re-sign for us this past off season, but he went down with a torn pec, so he's going to be out for the season.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really rough. But we had Hassan Reddick, who we just acquired in the offseason as well for a 1 year deal. Um, and Levante David, the veteran, he was in position to make game winning plays, but obviously he dropped that last pick, which I was telling you off
Yeah.
air that could have been the decider of the game
Could
right
have been
there. But
over
they
at that.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, they really could have, and they could have just kind of just ran the ball the whole game or for the rest of the game. But they really hung in there. I'm proud of them, and Yeah, man, I would definitely have to put them at the four position, number four. At three, I'm gonna have your Rams because right now, everything just seems to go right for y'all because not only on the offensive side, they're gonna do their thing, but as you were mentioning earlier, Jared Verse he's making a lot of trouble for opposing offenses. And
Hmm.
you guys do have pretty much the youngest defense coming out, or out of the whole NFL. So you guys are pretty much holding it down right now. So that's why I have to put them down at the top three.
Hmm.
Um, two, I'm gonna have Buffalo because at this point, they can pretty much do it all from the offense side. Defensively, they're just swarming to the ball. Ever since the comeback, really, it didn't seem like it was going to be a fluke or oh yeah, Josh Allen became lucky or anything. Because I was reading comments on some page that people are like, "Oh yeah, well we'll see how they do next week." But the Bills look like they're pretty much the runner up in terms of being one of those teams, if not the team coming out the AFC. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna definitely have them coming out as number two. Number one, just like kind of like how I had last week, I'm gonna have Philly because they're
yeah.
just totally dominating everybody right now. And even when they had Carter come back from the first game suspension against Dallas, they're just really doing everything and more of what they're asked supposed to do. Saquon is kind of like, getting a couple yards, few yards here and there. Next thing you know, he's just kind of booking it down the sideline, and nobody can really stop him when he just has a full vision of green. So, yeah, Philly just looks like they're not slowing down right now, and they kind of solidified that against the Chiefs this past week. So I'm gonna have them at one. So my list is gonna be Philly at number one, Buffalo two, the Rams three, the Bucks four, and Dallas at five.
Okay, that's a pretty decent list. The only thing I want to ask you is that kind of how when I thought about it when I put the Bills out of there, I was like, wait, hold on. I just want to say, where do you have the Packers?
Well, I was gonna put them at five actually,
Uh huh.
but for something about Dallas's fight towards the end kind of
Mm-hmm.
showed me signs like, yeah, people shouldn't have to write them off because losing Micah was a big thing. But at the same time, and they just signed the veteran Jadavian Clowney, which he
Yeah.
isn't necessarily the same player of how he once was, but that could also be a little upgrade at the pass rush position because they were having some signs of like, okay, when needed be to get these third stops against or third down stops against the Giants. I'm like, man, if they just had that one dog or just that one player that's been around for a little while to kind of help them penetrate, they could actually, it'll be a lot easier for the secondary because they're already banged up back there. And Trayvon just came back from I think a torn ACL last season,
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of teams are, as we've seen with Russell Wilson, aren't afraid to go over the top. But if the front seven can actually get back there quicker, then they should have a little bit more success. So at least I think that was enough for me to kind of put them top five at least for this week.
Yeah, for this week. Yeah, because like I said, the list we move it around all the time, guys. Depends on how the week goes. We move it around because last week I had the Chargers in my top five. Now Chargers are out of my top five, even though they did win. Because those are my two teams out of the top five that some people would put in the top five teams. Because but everybody's list is different. But the two teams that a lot of people would put in the top five that I didn't have is I didn't have the Ravens in there and I didn't have the Chargers because I have the Ravens at six and I have the Chargers at seven because I just believe that the Bucks and the Rams have been playing good enough football to say I think they're better right now than the Ravens and the Chargers. Going down the season, it might change, but I just believe those teams are just better at the moment. So those are yeah, those are our top five teams in the NFL, guys. Well, that's gonna be it
Before
for
we
what was that?
Before
Go ahead.
sorry, before we end off this episode for this week, it was just two key notes that I kind of just added on to the side, just from my perspective of what's seeing so far early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with Philly, because there's been that controversy for some time now about the tush push specifically, and me, I don't personally have a problem with it. Some people are like, that's not football, that's practically rugby, and whatever. But I actually, for the most part, when needed be, and they just happen to be in those situations where it's like, yeah, they're half a yard away, or they're not gonna want to just hand it off to Saquon or whoever, and kind of hope that they, or not hope that they would lose some yardage on that when they can just
Mm-hmm.
simply just practically quarterback sneak it. But um, I would hope that Philly kind of cleans it up, if you will, because not saying there's nothing wrong at all with the tush push. I just feel like they need to execute it a little bit more in terms of where they have their linemen, because I've noticed there was some kind of questionable calls that wasn't called this past week against Kansas City, because some of their offensive line was, two of them did a false start and that wasn't called, or some was clearly kind of already lined up over the line. So I was like, okay, if you guys are gonna do it, at least do it right. You know, like, you guys practice this long enough. You guys been doing it for. I mean, people can argue like, well, they tush pushed their way to a championship last year, and I'm not gonna argue about that. But I'm like, if you're gonna do it, you got to do it right. You know, you
Mhm.
guys need to practice a little bit more and just make sure that everybody's lined up correctly. Is all.
Yeah, I personally I do have a problem with the tush push. I really don't like it at all. I think it's bad for TV. I think it's bad for the game, and I will hope that maybe next season it gets like outlawed in the NFL, because the things I have a problem with is I don't think, like, I'm not one of those guys that it's unstoppable, so stop it. I'm one of those guys that do say I don't think it's a football play. It's
Yeah,
does kind of remind me of a rugby play where you go under and you push your guy forward and try to get him as far as you can. Because I've watched rugby games before and they do that a lot. And I feel like that's where the play came from. Is probably Nick Sirianni was like, "Hey, this will work in football." Watching the rugby games, but the main thing I have a problem with on it is number one, like you said, the defensive line and the offensive line, somebody always seems to be offsides. Somebody's always lined up over the what's called the neutral zone. There, somebody's over. Like the first time they ran it, the offensive lineman for the Eagles clearly jumped, and they should have probably got called for an offsides. They were one of them, I believe for sure, was lined up already offsides. And then the
yeah,
second time they ran it, Chris Jones on the defensive side, he was over the line and he jumped before the whole thing happened. And it just seems like we're not getting these offside calls, and it's too hard to know about it. And the other thing is, when Jalen Hurts got the touchdown, or I don't know if he got the touchdown on this play, or is it the one when they got to the 1 yard line? Who knows if the guy fumbled down there? Nobody knows if he lost the ball or not. They couldn't even tell. When you zoomed in on it, you couldn't even tell if he fumbled the ball, because the Chiefs got up and was like, "We have the ball," because the Chiefs came up with the ball. But at the same time, it's like we can't tell if he even fumbled the ball because everybody just piles up in a giant thing. I don't like it because it's too hard to officiate. I just think it's
yeah,
I'm not one of the guys that's unstoppable. It's because it's not unstoppable. I've seen the Philly been stopped before. The Chiefs stopped him a couple times, so it's more of like it's hard to officiate. We don't know who's offside, who's onside. We don't know if guys fumbled the ball in the pile like we just happened this past week, because we can't even see if the ball came out or not. They're just like, "Oh, he's down already," but he wasn't down. He was laying on a giant pile of people. His knees were not touching the floor. So I just
yeah.
yeah, I think it should be outlawed in the NFL because I just don't like it, and it seems like the Eagles are getting too reliant on a play that because they know it's hard to officiate, so they're like, you know what, let's do it because the rest don't even know how to officiate this play.
Yeah, and it just seems like now they're getting that treatment, if you will, from the league and from the NFL, where it's like, oh, well, we don't personally seem like there's nothing wrong with it, but it seems to be working and it's not illegal, so we'll just let them keep it for now. But
Yeah,
I think, yeah, for right now, I'm like, yeah, this probably needs to be the last season before I feel like the league needs to look closer into it and be like, altogether, just abandon it. So my last keynote that I wanted to kind of make a point of emphasis on is going back to officiating. So it hasn't really happened too much per se against to like not even half the league, but there was some games where I feel like it was a bit controversial because officiating, or at least from the refs, right? Uh, so I'm pretty much just making up a little scenario in my head to kind of prove where I'm trying to go with this. Is that it'll be a team on offense will be like, it don't matter if it's the Titans or it could be just any team, but it could be 3rd and 5 for an offense. And you can clearly see they don't, and it's no excuse, but like a team will pretty much get the first down and more. Like, let's say if it's 3rd and 5 and they got 7 out of it.
hmm
And it's one of those plays where airborne, the receiver catch it, and you can see like, yeah, that's more than a first down. But from the momentum of where the defensive players are knocking them back, because it's that little forward progress. I've
yeah.
noticed that the refs are kind of blind in a sense and keep shorting these players. So next thing you know, it'll be like instead of it was 3rd and 5 and they got 7 yards, so it'll be automatically a first down. They're only looking at it from when the person that catch the ball is knocking back. So next thing you know, it's like it's 4th and 1. I'm like, do you guys not know how to, measure? And
Hmm.
if that's the case, then use the new technology that we were talking about before of like the aerial cam of like showing of where the line is supposed to be and where the ball was actually moved forward or not. And it's quite obvious to people like us that are watching it at home from our TVs, and it's like, man, clearly that's the first down, and he got more than the first down. It wasn't like, oh, he just got over it by inches. It's like this dude caught it like 2-3 yards after the play, but you're marking it 4th and 1. Like, how'd you get from 3rd and 5 supposed to be a first down, you got 7 yards after the fact, or 2 yards after that, but you guys are marking it a yard short? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I think they should start going to more of like the virtual linesman a little bit more, because so far, out of all the games I've watched, I've only seen it used once. And I think they should go to it a little bit more, because it doesn't take that long to use it. It's a quick thing.
No.
It's a quick measurement where it's AI, where they just go real quick and it measures real quick, and it doesn't take that long. So I do believe they should go to that a little bit more, because I I need to watch a little bit more plays. As I have seen some plays where I see the guy catch the ball, like you said, he needs 5 and he gets about 6, and I see him clearly catch it over, but he gets tackled the opposite way, and now they're like, oh, it's 4th and 1 or 4th and inches, and I'm kind of like, how is it 4th and inches? I clearly saw him over the line, and he should have been at least 1 yard good over it, but. Yeah, I think they should use a lot of the AI a little bit more and move forward to start getting these calls right, because 1 yard can mean the whole entire game for some teams sometimes. So I do believe they should go to more of like the go more into the AI. And at the same time, I would like to say, I should say, you should encourage the coaches to challenge more. If they believe it's over the line and they watch it too, challenge the play, because you're not gonna. I feel like they're so scared of losing timeouts that they don't want to challenge the play. And maybe they should
Right.
start throwing more challenges, because the more times you throw a challenge and you're proven right over the refs are going to go have to have a meeting and be like, hey, we need to get these calls correct, so these coaches don't throw the challenge play, and now we're slowing down the game. Because one thing the NFL does not want to do is slow down the game, because if you have a coach throw the challenge play, and now they have to slow down the game and check on it, and you see that, and that keeps happening, that the refs are getting the calls wrong and they check on it afterwards to see they're getting it wrong, they're going to have to fix it. So I think the best way to fix this is either go straight to the AI measurements right away, or have coaches challenge more and make these refs prove wrong. Because the more the refs are proved wrong, the more they're going to have meetings, and the more the game gets slowed down. And the NFL does not want that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and a lot of these offenses too, when they're staying on the field, they're just like they're looking at the sideline, and you see the coach just like, "Yeah, come on, come on." We're like, "Wait, that's not a first down. Oh, we gotta
Yeah.
we gotta hurry up and switch, and switch to special teams already." And then a lot of these teams within this past week, a lot of them were getting a delay of games and stuff because
Mhm.
everybody's confused. Like, who's supposed to be on the field? I thought we were still going.
Yeah, and I do believe these are just like the week 1, week 2 jitters. I do believe like all of that, like the calls from the refs, everything, like players, delayed games, all that will probably be fixed by mid-season. But
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I honestly do believe a lot of this is happening too. It's because with preseason shorter now. We don't have a long preseason. A lot of the players don't play in preseason anymore. A lot of the refs don't have like the actual refs out there for preseason now. Now they have like the younger refs doing preseason, and I feel like it's kind of everyone's trying to get together because the preseason's shorter. They don't really play games. The refs that are usually the guys are not usually out there for preseason either. And yeah, it's like what Richard Sherman said. Richard Sherman said the refs are on a point system, to where who gets to get to that playoffs and who gets to go to the Super Bowl. And Richard Sherman said every single time the ref would make a bad call, Richard Sherman said, I would walk over there and say, oh, that's deducted 2 points. You ain't getting into the Super Bowl. And he would start talking to the refs like that. So maybe players need to start antagonizing the refs a little bit more and try to say something like, hey, dude, you're making a bad call. Well, that's 2 points off your check. You're not making it to the playoffs. You ain't getting there, because the refs are on a point system as well. And I feel like the NFL look at that too.
yeah, I would rightfully feel like that's the right thing to do, man, because it's getting ridiculous. And like you said, hopefully they clean that up because it is getting almost towards. It's not beginning of the season anymore. It's already gone to week 3. Next thing it's going to
Hmm.
be middle of the season. So Yeah, that like a lot of those key mistakes, man, are like costing these teams, like especially when a game's on the line.
Yeah, yeah. You can't be costing games because of 1 yard or even inches when he was clearly over the line. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Was there anything else you wanted to get into, or is that it for you? The two things you want to speak about?
No, that's really it. I just wanted to pretty much point those two little extra add-ons because
Hmm.
that's what mainly what was like kind of bothering me after this, or as we're finishing up week two, going into week three. It's like, man, it's just little mistakes here and there that the refs need to kind of clean up with, officiating and and especially like the little thing we saw with we are mentioning earlier about how the ending with Indy and Denver. Like, man,
Yeah,
like you guys,
leverage.
like what? Like leverage and it's like really like when it comes down to it you're gonna call it right as the it's for the game. And yeah, and then pretty much just about about the whole touch push thing. And like I said, for now I don't have too much of a problem with it, even though I'm not also the biggest fan of it. But if you're gonna do it the right way, make sure that
Yeah.
everybody is placed right.
Yeah, you don't want people lined up offsides, people getting hurt because of that happening, people complaining now. Now you're gonna have more of the fans saying, "Oh, it's rigged." See, I'm telling you, it's rigged, guys. It's not rigged. People just need to start getting their making better choices and actually watching a little bit easier. Like I said, go to AI, let AI measure these things out, let AI some things take away, and it's no longer rigged. Because I'm tired of hearing that people say, "Oh, the NFL, the NBA, everything's rigged," and so like that. Oh, there's a storyline, there's a script. Guys, get your conspiracy theories out here. The game is not rigged. People come out here and play this game really hard every single week. But all right, guys, that is going to be it for episode 5 of After the Snap. We will be back here Saturday. I'm gonna try to get us on here probably Saturday morning, and we're gonna go over our whole entire Sunday slate, talk about Thursday night football games, and see if we're right about if the Bills blow them out. So I'm your host, The Wager Zone. This is the co-host, Hez. If you guys are here for the first time, click that thumbs up, like the video, subscribe to the page, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you guys have any hot takes. Put them in the comments. Let us know how you guys are liking the show also. Let me know if you guys are here watching. I appreciate it if you guys click that thumbs up. And come back every single time, guys. We do the show about 2 times a week. Like I said, we're going to try to get back in here on Saturday, go over our whole entire Sundays. And all right, guys, you guys have a good rest of your week. Watch some Thursday night football tomorrow. And we're out of here, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, sir. Peace.